Mike McIntosh.
Thank you, Danielle. So bears, and usually when I do a presentation, the questions at the end of the presentation always involve bear attacks. So I'm going to start at the back. And since everybody, or a lot of people have their friends here with them, their canine friends, I wanted to mention that bear attacks are very, very rare. However, even though they're rare, over 50% of bear attacks involve a dog off leash. So everybody today has their dogs on a leash. And if you're walking in an area where you think there's wild bears, please keep your dogs on a leash. Not only will it reduce the risk of a bear attack, it'll reduce the risk of an altercation with other wild animals, coyotes, wolves included. So, the black bear is the only species of bear we're going to see in Ontario. And black bears aren't always black. So if you see a brown one, it's still a black bear of a different color. If you happen to be in the West Coast or British Columbia, it could be white. Still, same species of bear. However, in Ontario, if you go to the very far north around the James Bay, Moosonee area, you might see polar bears. But there's no roads to get you there, so chances are you're not going to drive and see one. Black bears in Ontario are born in January, almost always. Maybe the first week of February, but that's the outside of the birth cycle. And there's no such thing as a late-born cub. They're January, so this time of year in August, middle of August, cubs are about 7 months of age. So how big are they? They mature very slow. And that's why many people think they see a yearling bear, which is a year and a half old, and still think it's a cub. Even as a year and a half, that's when they usually leave the mother bear. So a year and a half old bear might be the size of a medium-sized dog, or the size of a lab or a German shepherd. But that'd be about as big as they get. When that bear reaches about 5 to 7 years of age, it'll be sexually mature and able to reproduce. When it reaches the age of 10 to 12, it'll be physically mature. So it'll take a long time to grow up to be a big bear. If a bear is allowed to live out its full life and not be killed by people, which happens 98 to 99% of the time, they can live up to 40 years or even longer. In 2013 in July, a female had been studied by the Department of Natural Resources in Minnesota, died of natural causes at the age of 39 and a half in 2013. So there's an example of how long they can live if they manage to lay low enough and stay away from people. When I started Bear With Us, I wanted to look after orphan and injured bear cubs because there's very few cubs that I get that aren't orphaned because of human activity. But I also wanted to stress the education part, because if we learn about them and aren't afraid of them and understand the animals it really is, there's less need to rehabilitate them, because people won't be killing them just because they're afraid of them. And what people fear, they tend to want to destroy. I have a fact sheet and a brochure about Bear With Us. The fact sheet is some quick information about the black bear. Just because they're covered up, please feel free to take them anyway. Just the wind is making it difficult to keep them on the table. There's a lot of well-behaved dogs around here. I wonder how they'd be if I had a bear friend with me. And many people ask me about, why don't I bring a bear? Well, a bear and people, they don't really jive like dogs and people do. It'd be very, very stressful for the animal. Very unkind. I think cruel would be probably the proper word. So that's why I don't bring bears out in public, even if they're little wee cubs. However, I try to help you learn more about bears by seeing photos and video that's posted on our Facebook page, Bear With Us Sanctuary, or on the website, bearwithus.org, like the poster behind me. So the black bear is a very intelligent mammal. When I say very intelligent rivals that of the great apes. So in North America, there's no animal walks on 4 legs that's more intelligent than the bear. They also have a very good sense of sight, which is contrary to the myth you often hear. They're not nearsighted, they're not nearly blind. They actually see about the same as people do. They also see color, which is something that our doggy friends don't see. But for a bear, that's pretty important, because they're primarily a predator of berries, not a predator of anything else, as you might hear or read. And berries come in different colors: blueberries, raspberries, red or blue. So it would definitely make sense for a bear to be able to see color to help it find its food. But even though bears have fairly good eyesight, they're not dependent on their sight alone. If a bear stands up on its hind legs, it's curious. If a bear stands up on its hind legs, it's curious. It wants to learn more about what it's seeing or smelling. It's not a sense of aggression, and bears that are nervous or about to flee or even charge don't stand up on their hind legs. But a bear's sense of smell is what it goes by. It's a scent-oriented animal. And to give you an idea how the sense of smell is, 6 to 7 times better than a bloodhound. So when I say please don't feed the birds in the summertime, that sunflower seed, with the wind we have today going towards the east, a bear could probably smell that sunflower seed 1 or 2 kilometers away. And if one bear smells it, more than one bear will smell it. So that's how they find your bird feeder or the food in your garbage is left on the deck. It's not by accident. It's by that extremely acute sense of smell. The bear cubs are born in January, but they stay with their mother for about 1.5 years. So they hibernate with the mom again the second winter, and then the mother bear and her cubs part company the following May or June, maybe July. So a young bear, fairly small, but the size of a medium-sized dog this time of year, has just left its mother. Kind of confused. Doesn't know really what to do. So that's why they tend to show up around people more often. They tend to not be afraid because they haven't learned to be afraid of people. We need to teach them that. Scare them away. And I wanted to give an example of one of the best scare tactics you can have that's close to you at home, because bear bells and bangers and horns and all these things that you can buy sound a lot like what we're hearing right now standing on this next to Highway 7 here. Horns become fairly common. Pots and pans and banging noises are fairly common anywhere where there's a residence or people, quite a few people. So I'm going to get a garbage bag. Most of us have one. And it was one of the economy garbage bags like the one I have here. You might want to spend a few minutes and open it up first. But fold this garbage bag up and put it in your pocket and carry it with you for hiking, if you're camping, or going anywhere where you think there may be bears. So if you're walking your dog on the leash and you see fresh pile of bear poop, berries is a good indication that it's a bear. Keep your dog on the leash. And it's highly unlikely that you'll ever need to use a garbage bag to scare away a bear. It's more likely to be using that garbage to pick up other people's garbage, unfortunately. So I'm going to put the mic down and give you a demonstration, because bears are afraid of what they don't understand. If they get used to human activity in the neighborhood, get used to going from bird feeder to bird feeder, shame on you, or food in their garbage, they get to know what the people in that neighborhood are doing. And they're not dangerous when they get used to people, but they also think that people aren't dangerous to them. That's why they sometimes get close. So if a bear approaches you or doesn't seem to want to run away, say it's in your yard, first of all, take a look around and see why that bear's there to start with. If you got a bird feeder, hummingbird feeder, there's food around, dog food out in the dish, or garbage around, make sure after you scare the bear away, take all those attractants away, because even though you scare him away, he's going to come back when you're not there, and you can leave and go shopping or something like that. Bears get to know phrases, so yell at the bear. Very assertive. Go away, bear. And wave the garbage bag on like this. Go away. Go away, bear. I find it kind of interesting. None of the dogs even were concerned with that. I promise you a bear would be. So that's the 5-cent solution. If you do a lot of work in hiking or whatever you do in bear country, say you're a geologist, it's a good idea to carry a can of pepper spray. It's unlikely you'll ever use it. You have to remember that there's an expiry date on pepper spray, bear spray, so you'll probably replace it for that reason. It is very, very effective if the bear gets very close to you, within, say, 3 or 4 meters. And a windy day like today, you want to make sure you're not standing facing the wind, because it's going to get you in the face. It's not very pleasant. That's why it works so well with the bear. Interesting thing is, it doesn't cause any long-term harm to the bear. It's very, very unpleasant. It'll stop an attack or whatever the bear is doing, but he just goes away because he doesn't understand why the burning sensation's there. So it's more effective than anything else that you can carry with you, even a high-powered rifle. I didn't talk too much about what bears eat. They're primarily vegetarians, primarily. They sometimes will eat carrion. They learn what to eat by mimicking the female bear or the mother. So if the mother bear comes around to your bird feeder, her small cubs are thinking that's a normal way to find food. That's not good. Odd time they'll learn how to fish. The odd time they'll learn how to kill small mammals, or maybe even a deer fawn. But most bears, probably 90% of them, are 90% vegetarian or 100% vegetarian. So if we have a year that's dry or a late spring frost and there's no berries, bears will show up in towns and everywhere, and you wonder where all the bears came from. There's not any more bears. It's just that they're in looking for food. But a year like this year, when in most areas of Ontario there's lots of berries, everybody's wondering where the bears are while they're eating the berries. So please just remember a few things. If you're camping, keep all the food out of your tent. Chocolate bar wrappers, any wrappers like candy flavored toothpaste, keep all of that out of your tent. Hang in a tree with your food. Don't wear clothes in your tent that you were barbecuing with. And if you have a dog, please keep them on a leash. It's better for the dog, it's better for you, and it's better for the bear. Thank you.